Right, this is really awesome. I have a great opportunity to sit down virtually. So we're using technology with Max, who's actually in my hometown. So I'm from Chicago, but I'm in North Carolina, and he's in Chicago. And Max is really an expert on real entrepreneurship, starting businesses, and really I was asking him here to just give his insight and expertise on what's called MVP, minimum viable product, and to touch on that. But Max, if you could just tell a little bit about yourself, your inspiration, and really you've been doing some amazing work.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the introduction. So yeah, the name's Max. What I do basically is I run a show on the internet called EntrepreNerd, where I hop on a live stream every week and I try to build a small business. And I have a deep focus on these quote unquote no code tools. I teach at a lot of universities, and a lot of like entrepreneurship clubs and marketing clubs and things like that around how to get students to actually build a product. If they have some cool, crazy startup idea, right? How do they build that, right? And usually the biggest limitation is programming. Like, oh, I don't know how to program. I never learned how to code, so I can't build anything, because a lot of people have app ideas or website ideas or tech ideas. And I focus in these no-code tools that basically let you build all those things without learning any big fancy coding language, right? So you can still build something no matter where you are, no matter what you know, and no matter your skill set. So yeah, and I try to build little businesses every week, and a lot of them mess up, but a lot of them work, and it's a whole lot of fun. So that's my shtick.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I wanted to really hone in on the MVP. I think this is very important, for people to understand, not just students, but budding entrepreneurs, how to develop it. And you focus a lot on this no code, really fast ways of getting things up and running. So could you tell us a little bit about the MVP and your strategy on putting it together?
Absolutely, yeah. So for those that don't know, an MVP is a minimum viable product, right? Which basically just means it's like the bare minimum of what you can create to put in front of a customer, right? Every company, every product is built off of a problem. Somebody has a problem. Let's say like I talk to a bunch of skateboarders and they all keep breaking their skateboards. That's the big problem. Right? So what I want to do is, as an entrepreneur, I want to create a product that solves that problem. Maybe a stronger skateboard, for instance, right? That's the basic concept. An MVP is just like the bare minimum product that you can create that solves that person's problem, right? Maybe it doesn't solve it very well. Maybe it does a poor job. Maybe it's inexpensive or kind of thrown together and not like elegant, but it works, right? It does the very, very bare minimum of at least getting that first step of solving that problem. So you can give it to people, you can give it to customers, and they will have a time with it, right? They'll either love it, they'll hate it, but you can start testing with it, is the point. And usually, one big thing that a lot of students have is app ideas. I've seen that a lot. So there's plenty of like app tools that I recommend to build a really simple app or a bare bones app that you can send to customers and say, hey, here's the app. It does a thing. Check it out. Maybe it's a dating app or a social app or an online seller app, whatever it is. Building apps is a great way. It's not that hard. But even before that, usually my favorite version of an MVP is just a very simple website that says, hey, here's what we do, right? A lot of companies, Dropbox is a really big example. Dropbox, it's like, Google Drive, you share files with each other and everything like that. Huge billion-dollar company. They started with a website and they didn't have the product ready. They just said, here's our product, right? This is what it looks like. Sign up for the wait list now. Nothing was ready. Nothing was done. It was just makeup. They were like, oh, let's see if people care about this idea. And everybody cared about that. Everybody loved the idea. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is a huge opportunity. Now we have all these people signed up for this product. Now let's go build it. So that little process of like pretending your product exists on a website and seeing how people react is a really, really solid like 0.1 MVP, because you can send it to people and see how they, and like learn, right? So you can get that initial testing phase going. And I call like that the fake startup process, or the painted door test. I've heard called that before too. That's my favorite kind of thing. And I could give you a ton of tools right now to make those websites really easily. It takes me like 10 minutes to toss up a website now because I've had a ton of practice. It doesn't take a lot of time at all. And it's super, super valuable in terms of what you get back.
So here's the question. The MVP strategy, okay, that's great. I'm testing, I'm putting together this prototype, I'm letting people look at it, but I'm not out to market. So let's say the argument would be, why do that and not build the product and just put it out there? And then change it while I'm flying, fix it while I'm flying the plane.
I like that approach actually a lot more. It just depends on the product. Most of the time for my show, for the products that I'm building on my show, I will just make the thing and toss it out there, right? Instead of just building a little landing page. The only time that I recommend people do the landing page test first is if it's going to take them like a month of hard work, or they have to spend a lot of money to build that product, right? Especially with things that like that skateboard example that I used, right? You have to do the landing page test first for things like skateboards, right? Because building a skateboard and going and getting manufactured and all these different kinds of crazy things and going through all the iterations of making sure this thing works and functions beautifully is going to cost you a lot of money and a whole lot of time. And it might be wasted if people don't care about that idea. But if it's something like a simple listing website or a job board or an app that you think you could build in a weekend or a week, just go build it. Absolutely. 100% you nailed it on the head. Just go build it and try to sell it. That's going to be way more valuable than any landing page you're going to build. So I think both work, but it depends on the product.
This is great. So my next question is, if I'm someone who just says, well, okay, I've got an idea for an app. It sounds real easy, Max. You're saying just go ahead and build it. I don't know how to code. I don't know anything about technology. However, I see a problem. I want to solve it. It feels like there's a big barrier. So what do I do? How do I overcome that?
Totally. Super great question. Yeah. So that's what a lot of presentations that I give are about. That's what my whole show is about. Let's see. I could share my screen if you want, and I can show you a couple of tools that make it easy.
Sure.
Let me do that. That's usually what I like to do. Share my screen. Here is Google. Pull you over. One of my favorite tools that I usually recommend to a lot of students is something called Adalo. It's ADALO.com. I'm going to log in and I'm going to show you some of the stuff. Let's go. I'll log in now. If this is an issue, there's a couple of other tools I can show you. Sometimes Adalo's down, and it only seems to be down when I give presentations. It's very annoying. But this is like
technology.
It's technology, exactly. This is what I consider the Wix version. If you've ever used Wix to build a website, this is like Wix but for building apps. So let me create a new app. I'm going to create a native mobile app right here. Right. Next, let's say we're going to keep it blank. Right. Well, maybe a directory app, appointments app. Nah, let's keep it blank and start from scratch. We'll call this super sick skateboarding app. I don't know. And we'll go create. Now it automatically gives me a sign up and a login form, right? So for returning people, they can go to the login section. For people that have never been here, they create an account, right? And then I'm going to go over to here and let's start building that home screen. So maybe we have a button. Let's add a button right here. We'll say this button here, and then we'll say something like, maybe this is a skateboard listing app. So for people to buy and sell custom skateboards, something like that. Let's say publish new board. I'm gonna extend that button out and publish new board with a little plus button. Awesome. And then when I click this, I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to click add action. I'm going to link it to a new screen. And that new screen is going to have an app bar. And it's going to say list new board. That's going to be the new screen. New screen is going to pop up here. And actually, I'm going to say list new board. And now when you click this button, it goes to list new board, right? And on this screen, maybe we'll have something like a form to fill out the information of the boards. And then back on the home screen, you'll see a simple list of your already existing boards. All these different things I can port in, I can make it automatically happen. When I'm done, I click the share button. Preview is not working. I can publish a progressive web app. Open it right here, and boom, I have my app ready and up and to go, right? If you scan this little QR code, it downloads it onto somebody's phone. If I share this link up here with somebody, they can pop it onto their Google Chrome and it'll help them download it onto their phone. If I wanted to create a desktop app that's useful for computers instead of mobile apps, I can do that as well. And I can publish it to different domain names. And this isn't just like the way that this looks. A lot of people think it's like a design tool to make things look cool so you can plan out your app. It's not. This actually functions entirely as an app. It can collect data. People can log in, log out. Data can be listed. You can collect payments through this. You can run ads. Everything you might want to do on an actual mobile app or a desktop app functions here. And when you publish it, it's real, it's done, it's functioning. It's not just a wireframe. And there are hundreds of tools like this that let you do all sorts of crazy, crazy things. I didn't do any coding at all just now, but I built an app, right?
Mm-hmm. That is great. So, Mac, let me ask you this. What is the cost for a Adalo?
Great question. Yeah. So a lot of tools that I recommend to students, you can use Adalo for free and you can publish really small apps for free. If you want to collect a lot more data and start like really publishing this, I think it's $50 per month for Adalo. There are much cheaper apps. Like for instance, if you're just doing a listing app or a data collection app or something simpler, there are free tools that you can use probably up to like 1,000, 2,000 users. But usually it's hard for me to recommend specific apps within specific price ranges. I'm starting to write articles on this because I think it would be helpful. But there are tons of options. And usually it's a good idea to shop around with different app builders to find one that's priced right for you and has the right functionality. But Adalo is a little bit more on the expensive side at $50 per month. So, which isn't horrible compared to like outsourcing an app build or learning code over a few years, but it is still money. So.
This is great. So I do have this question because you provide a lot of valuable information and for free. What is your motivation behind that?
Great question. Yeah. So it's not always for free. Most of the time I go to different schools. I mean, of course, yeah. I'm an entrepreneur as well. Most of the time I go to schools, I teach, I like hopping into classes. It's just genuinely really fun for me to like speak to kids. Plus, like if they build something down the road and I help them, then they're an awesome entrepreneur in my network, right? And they're going to help me build things later. So that's one motivation for sure. Just building an awesome network of awesome kids building great things. Second, if I speak at a school, like being able to say that I spoke at 60 different schools in the past year, it's a big, it's a big boost. It helps me and it helps me get paid speaking gigs. And sometimes some schools, some private institutions will bring me in for paid workshops for larger than just like, here's the tool, right? And I'll actually go in and I'll teach the students how to use Adalo every little bit. So I get paid for that. I also get speaking gigs at other kind of like nonprofits and things like that. So it's part of my business, but it's also just a whole lot of fun. So I've gravitated towards it because it's enjoyable and kids are cool.
Yeah, and just one last bit because I want to be respectful of your time, but I really admire that you mentioned network, and I mentioned this to students about network, and you're generating your own network by giving and creating value, which I think is amazing. How important is network? And specifically now, when you talk to these students, what can you say? I mean, I can say it from my perspective as a professor, but what would you put on it to students as far as the value of building that network?
Great question. Yeah. So it depends on the field you're going into, but generally knowing people is just very helpful. Like everybody, if you're starting an agency or you're starting a company or you want to find freelance gigs on the side while you're building a company or really for finding work and getting help in general, I've done all of that through my network. Like if I come out with, while you're building stuff, having freelance or having opportunities on the side is always a really, really good idea, because it's hard to become financially stable while you're building something, right? If I'm just spending hours and hours per day building something, I have no idea if it's going to work, and I'm not getting paid for sure, right? So having like a part-time thing or a cool job that I still enjoy on the side, or freelance gigs to sustain me while I'm doing that, that's like the story of every single entrepreneur I've ever met in my entire life, doing that stuff on the side while they're building something. Because you can't get paid to build something yourself. Every single opportunity that I've had that has sustained me along the way and also helped me sell the products that I've created has been through my network. When you create something, when you have an offering, when you offer yourself up to do freelancing, the hardest part is not doing that work. It is finding those clients or finding those customers. Marketing is so difficult. And everybody assumes that it's just going to be fine. Like, cool, let's just go out and do it. But you need to know people. You need to know people to reach out to, ask advice. Then you need to know the people that are going to hire you, and they need to know you before they do so, right? And people need to know you before they buy your product, even if it's not a service that you're offering. All of that happens through your network. You don't have to like keep up and constantly keep in contact with these people. They just need to know who you are, right? Whether you create a lot on social media, whether you've had a phone call once every 6 months, whatever it is, maybe you help them build something like I do with the students that I teach. You don't have to, it's not like this huge, immense like workload to maintain or build a network. Just try to get to know people doing really cool things, and it ends up working out randomly. It's really hard to explain, but it helps you with everything you could possibly ever want to build in every aspect. I hope that's a good explanation, but yeah.
It is. You remind me of a farmer. You're planting seeds, and then they're going to come back. You're going to come back to you. So this has really been great, Max. And just for those, if they wanted to get in touch with you, ask you questions, reach out to you, how can they do so?
Absolutely, yeah. So my email is pretty accessible. It's maxmirho@gmail.com, maxmirho@gmail.com. I'm on Instagram, entrepreneur_nerd. If you think about how to spell entrepreneur, just fix the end with nerd and then put an underscore in there. It's exactly how you think you might spell it. So I'm on Instagram. I'm on my phone like 6 hours a day. If you message me on Instagram, I will get back to you, and I would love to help with anything you're building. Just tell me you're a student trying to do stuff. That's probably the easiest way to get in touch with me. And then my live show is twitch.tv/entrepreneur_nerd. If you have any questions, it's like office hours. You can, if I'm live and I'm building something, hop on, especially for the next like few months. It's hop on, ask me any questions you want. I would love to help. And if you want to learn stuff, you can watch me build things. So yeah, thank you for letting me promote.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mac. This has been great. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, this has been